Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Tonight we're going to look into Spring Boot and GraphQL. So if you don't know it, then GraphQL is kind of like an alternative to using REST. When you're dealing with REST, the REST API, then usually you have your resources in the URL part. So that means that then if you want to get the content of customer, then you will go to /customer/2. If the ID is 2 of that customer, then you will get some information returned. GraphQL has something else. They actually they act with something called queries instead. This means that if you want information, then you can actually choose to get, maybe you're only interested in the first name of this customer, then you can actually say that I'm only interested in the first name of this customer. You can also say that you're interested in more than the first name, that you're also interested in the last 3 purchases from this customer, right? And then you will also get this returned in the same call. So that is the strength with Postgres, also not Postgres, sorry, with the GraphQL, and that is that you can actually query and you can get multiple. You can actually have multiple pieces of data returned in the same response. So usually you will have something like a GraphQL gateway where you ask this gateway, please give me this information, and this information, and then that gateway will actually go back to maybe multiple backends and then fetch all of that information, and then send it to the client. So that is kind of the point with GraphQL. Spring Boot has support for GraphQL. They actually have a module named GraphQL, and they are using the GraphQL Java.com module, which you can go in and read about right here. So when you add that module, you're actually adding GraphQL for Java right here, and here's actually an example of these queries that we have right here. So there's a document right like this. You cannot post this directly. You have to put this into a JSON structure where you have, and I'll show you that JSON structure. Of course, that's one of these. That's one of the points with this video right here. This video will only show you basic GraphQL stuff. So if you are looking forward to some advanced stuff, then you have to wait for another video that I'll make with advanced GraphQL stuff. I think I'll only actually extract data for. I'll only make one query for one data source in the backend. But let's see how far we will get. So, but this is a query. This is a format. This is the name of the query right here. Book detail. This is the name of the operation. So that is an operation right here. And so this is actually, here we say that the ID is book 1. And here we're actually saying which fields that we're interested in getting returned. So that is exactly how to do that. And then you can see the response is something like this. We actually get the book and we get the fields that we're interested in. This means that we are not getting 4 pages of JSON that we're not interested in, and we're getting exactly what we actually want. We can define, there are some schemas that we need to define with when you're dealing with GraphQL. So that also means that it takes longer to create a GraphQL interface than it does to create a REST interface. That is because you have to create this schema first. You have to say which queries, which queries is it possible to run. Here we have a query, and we have this is book by ID, as you can see right here. Here we used book by ID right there. So book by ID right here, and then we have the types right here. So this is an operation, this is a type with fields right here. And all of this, of course, has its own documentation. You have to know this language, but you can actually, in IntelliJ, you can download and install a plugin named GraphQL. And I'll definitely I think that you should download and use that plugin if you want to do something with GraphQL. It will just make it much easier, because all of these types of that we have right here, of course, you cannot type whatever you want to right here. You need to type in something that actually makes sense. It is easy to learn this GraphQL schema. I would say it's not difficult. It's just like learning JSON or something like that. It's easier than JSON schema if you've ever tried that. I've made another video on that topic. But right here you actually see you can also use types inside this inside these declarations right here. Here we have an author, and here we have that author right here defined like this: ID and first name and last name. So let us now, let us look at some code, Mike. This is now we've seen enough of the documentation. So let me just close all of these tabs right here. First of all, I've created this project by pressing File, New Project. Then I chose Spring Initializer. I am using Java 17. And I think I actually am using Gradle. I don't remember actually. Let me just check. Yeah, I'm using Gradle for this project right here. And the reason why I'm doing that is just that it was default. Actually, I don't care whether it's maybe not Gradle. I like both of them equally. So then I press next right here, and then I added Lombok. Then I search for GraphQL. Look what we have right here. Spring for GraphQL. Nice, nice, nice. And then I look for the web. I want the Spring web also. This means that if I want, yeah, this is just so then I will get an embedded web server. Then I also added data, Spring data, right there, the API. And I also added H2, a H2 database like that. And then I press create, and then I ended up with this project right here. And what did I do? So the first thing I read in the documentation, of course, how to use this cool Java GraphQL library. And what you need to do is you need to create a folder in your resources folder named GraphQL, and all of the schemas that you put in here. Of course, you can also you can tweak Spring Boot as usual. You can change the configuration, of course. So you can change your configuration, so you don't have to use those folders if you don't want to. But just add a folder named GraphQL, and then add all of your schemas in here. And you can see again, I have created something that looks a lot like the other one right here. We have a query definition right here when I have three different operations, three different queries that we can call. One of them is greeting. This was just say hello, and then the name right here. Right now it says Spring right here. I could also say something like Susan or something like that. It does not. Yeah, it does. You can, of course, you can choose whatever you want to. This is called a default value when you're using GraphQL. If you add something right here, this is a default value, and this is the parameter right here. Then of course I'm playing around with spaceships as usual. I think I'm going to save this for the advanced video, but let us see. Sometimes I surprise myself. But those are other operations here. You can actually get one spaceship out if you give the ID. You can also get all of the spaceships that has at least this fuel amount left. That was also one idea. And here we have the types, and this is how to create documentation in your GraphQL. So this, when you use three double quotes, then you can just, it's just like Java doc, just like for GraphQL documentation instead, right? And it is a good thing to actually document your fields quite well, because it can be difficult, of course, to see what is meant. So here we have fuel, we have captain, we have model, we have ID, we have destination. Destination is a new type. This means that I've actually created an enum. Yeah, I actually use an enum right here. So it's also possible to use enums in the GraphQL language. And we have moon, we have Mars, we have Jupiter. We have Jupiter, we have Pluto, so that is quite cool. And Alpha Centauri, yeah. So that's actually it. So how do we use it? So now you need to create this file. That's the first thing. Then the second thing is you need to map this greetings operation to some code that you have inside your controller right here. And look, it's not a REST controller anymore. Now it's just a normal controller. So just annotate this was a normal controller, and then you do something like this: add query mapping. Let us see where query mapping comes from. Query mapping, it comes from a package from the GraphQL package. That is very smart, right? That's very convenient. And then we have the argument also that also comes from the GraphQL package. So what are we using that for? We're actually using that to actually take the parameter or take the argument from the query right here. So here we have this is actually the code. We are returning a string, and we are returning this string right here, hello and happy new year 2023, and then whatever name we place in right here. And of course, this was just to show that you can actually map in stuff. I'm not using the spaceship service right here, so I'm going to delete it. Let us start our application and actually see what happens if it actually starts up. But this is actually this would be the first mapping. So if I so this would actually be this part right here. So if I hadn't created these two operations right here, then I could actually then that code would be sufficient. What do I have in my application.properties file? Absolutely nothing. So this is the default setup. as usual, you can tweak. You can tweak a lot of stuff. When you're dealing with GraphQL, then the standard is that you should post to /GraphQL to execute your GraphQL queries. And let me just show that the plugin that you need, because you really need that plugin. Without that, it will take way too long. So plugins. Where is the plugins? That was right there. Here you can actually search for I have it right there. So you just search for GraphQL and install it. This is the one that I got right here. I think it's awesome. What you also need to do is, because when you're creating a query, then I always start with creating a .graphql file, because this means that now I can this can actually be with this one I actually get some help. You can see here I get code completion from the GraphQL plugin. Then I can create my query in this file right here. When I'm done creating this file, then I can create a piece of JSON, because this is what I need to post to the Spring Boot application. I have to say that this is a query, and then again I have to say that this is a query because that is the name of my query that I have in my schema. So I have to say query, and then query again, and here I say I want to call greetings with the name, and in this situation tis, that is the yeah. That is the name that I want to post right here. And then so I have two files. This file right here where I copy and paste from, and then this is the resulting file that I actually post to my /GraphQL endpoint. So now the server actually started up, so that is quite good, and it only actually took 3.6 seconds. That's quite fast. Let us go. I have created a package.json file as usual. The reason why I do that is because then I don't have to type. I'm really bad at multitasking, so when I'm talking, then I can really. Then sometimes my fingers are not typing the right things. So yeah. So then I have this package.json file right here. I can just press play. So this means that I can actually curl stuff right here. So I can say curl something to GraphQL. So if we just want to curl something without posting anything, then let us see what actually happens. So we curled, and what did we get? We didn't get anything returned. We got a 405. This means that the error 405, that is the request invalid request. So let us try the real curl right here. This means that if I curl this and I need to set the content type header right here to application JSON. So this is a header I'm setting. Then I'm posting. When I write -d, then two things happens. The HTTP method changes to post, and this file right here will be the payload. That will be the body that will be posted to the location that we have in the end right here. Let us see what actually happens, because this means that now we're actually posting this file right here to our backend. Let us see what happens. Whoa, data. Greeting, hello, and Happy New Year to Tis. Okay, thank you very much. That's quite cool. Now let us just write Mike instead. And let us press play again. Hello and Happy New Year to Mike. Yes, that's quite cool. If you don't know what this is, I have it in the left corner. This is services, and if you're not using the IntelliJ services, definitely use those. It's a mixture of run configurations and Docker and Docker management. Actually, you can still manage your Docker images right there. There's another video on that topic on my channel. So that's actually cool. So this means that it actually works, and it was actually quite simple when you know how to do it. I was stuck quite some time because I thought that we could actually. I kind of could just post this whole body right here, but that's not possible. You have to create. You have to put it inside this JSON format right here. You can actually also, instead of using a post, then you can actually go to. Let me just see if we can actually make it work. I'm not sure we can make it work. But you can actually create. So this is a query. This means that we can go to localhost. We can go to localhost like this, and then instead of using post, then we can just use get. If we use GraphQL like this, then it's something like that. We can say query. We say query equal to something like this. Oh, we cannot do that. It was, but it is possible actually to use get instead of yeah. GraphQL get query string example. You can use get instead actually. So GraphQL.org. Yeah, that's the one I wanted. Yeah, here it actually is somewhere. Let us just scroll down somewhere. Actually, we were searching for a question mark because that is the. So what do we have right here? Operation name. Maybe I don't need the. Let us try to remove the. Let us try to remove the query right here. So we just have query greetings. No, that was not good enough. Okay, but it is possible also to use the get protocol and then use a query string. Use a get. It's not a protocol. It's a HTTP method. Use the get HTTP method. And I think there was an example right here somewhere. Maybe yeah, I'll find it for the next video. But it's also good enough that we have the that we're posting. So that is usually how you would actually post. You would post, and then you will get the results. So GraphQL get query string example right here. I just pressed something on. After googling it, what does it say right here? So here we have this blah blah. Let's just see if we can fix it quite fast. If not, then it doesn't matter. Okay, here it is actually. Look, query. Okay, so here we have it actually. Query greetings right there. No, okay, so let us try again. Let us try again. Query greetings. I'll just copy this format. Yeah, I was so close. I was so close. Look right here. We do not need to give there's an operation right here. So we don't need to give the operation. That is because we only have one operation for this query right here that is named greetings. So that means that we can actually do something like question mark query equal to query, and then we skip this part right here, right? And we say greeting query, then we say hello, and here we actually just say. I think we'll just say query here actually. Maybe we'll just skip the query all in all. And name. Let us see what happens if we do this actually. I'm not sure that this will actually work. Then we have the operation name in the end. Greeting query. Query. Let us try. So we'll go back to GraphQL and then query right there. Now there's two questions. Now there are two question marks. I need to play with this. I need to play with this, but it is possible to use the. It is possible to use the get protocol. That's just what I'm trying to say. But of course, it would be a bit. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So maybe we need to go GraphQL and then / is that it? Oh. And then we have question mark and we have query. Maybe we need to skip that query right here. Just say greetings. I know we're very close, but it doesn't matter. I'll do that another time. So that's actually just what I wanted to show. Invalid character found, and okay, so it actually receives it, but there's just there's some invalid characters right there. Maybe it's just the could be the quotes actually. Could be the quotes. Oh, I'll figure it out until next time, and then we'll see the get part also. One last thing, if you I'll place the code as usual on my GitHub account, so feel free to get it right there. And if you go to the spaceship controller, if you can't wait until the next video, then you can see that we actually have a query mapping right here, and that we return a spaceship right there. So that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great evening, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.